Alrighty folks, welcome along to the Made to Pray podcast. You're joining us today, Ulster Day, at Seaview Stadium here on the Shore Road for the Pitch Perfect event. We're going to be here all day, talking to people who are performing in the show and also doing some interviews and things with anyone who's interested. So we're going to be talking to some of the bands, some of the dancers, maybe some of the performers, singers, or whatever else is going on. So why don't you come along and join us and see what's going on? Alright, so here we are. So we're going to turn the camera around in a wee minute and then you'll get to see where we're at. Alrighty, so this is the setup. Alright, so there we go. Got our camera stuff going on over here. You see we've got the A10 computer and also obviously the cameras and stuff. Now we're not using a green screen or anything today, but we've got this wee bit of a makeshift setup here going on in order to help us out. Now, if we turn around, you can see out the window a wee bit here about what's going on at the stage area here on the right hand side. There's some stuff being set up out on the pitch there.
For the first ever Pitch Perfect event, a celebration of Belfast's rich Ulster-Scots musical traditions with our best marching bands and invited guests from across Ulster. Pitch Perfect is a result of a partnership between Belfast Orange Fest and the Ulster-Scots Agency, supported by Crusaders Football Club, the Ulster-Scots Community Network, and Small Steps, adult education group in North Belfast. The programme has been financially supported by Belfast City Council as part of their Belfast 2024 cultural programme. And the first bands that are coming in today are Dunray Protestant Boys Boot Band and Shankill Old Boys Boot Band. Give them a big, big, Pitch Perfect round of applause.
Alrighty folks, so we're here at the Pitch Perfect event at Seaview here on the Shore Road, and we are going to talk with one of the organisers of the event and get a bit of an insight into where the idea came from, what they're actually hoping to achieve. So please join me in welcoming to the Made to Pray podcast, Jim Boland. Alright, how you doing, sir? You good?
How you doing as well? Bit stressed, but we're alright.
Because you've been running about like an idiot here, haven't you? So Jim, give us a wee bit of an insight as to where this idea came from, because for most people thinking about an event that involves, I suppose, bands and maybe Ulster-Scots traditions, they're not thinking, here, this is going to take place at Seaview on the Shore Road. So give us a wee bit of an insight as to where you got the idea from.
Well, firstly, the idea came about probably pre-COVID, where I had the thought of putting an event like today on the pitch in Crusader, someone that lives along the Shore Road area of North Belfast that really doesn't get to see any of the main parading activity, if I use that word. I sort of come up with the thought concept and the process and spoke to some of the key partners involved in it, and they eventually bought into it after a little bit of coercement as such. Again, as I say, the whole idea was to try and get somewhere that was in the lower North Belfast area. It doesn't really see very much in relation to this type of activity, but also to bring the community together, because it's a fantastic community event. It's a free event where obviously the residents from the area and further afield can come in and enjoy, hopefully, a bit of an eclectic mix of marching bands and an Ulster-Scots tradition involved in the whole event as such.
Yeah, so it's an interesting date to have the event on as well, so obviously that's played a part in this.
Yes, well, it is 20th, it's Ulster Day, And again, when the idea initially came about with a collaboration between Belfast Orange Fest and the Ulster-Scots Agency, there was a discussion around perhaps having an event that was not always based around the 12th of July celebrations and the July commemorations that would happen, but something outside of that. They actually allow people to perhaps understand what it is we're about. A member of the Orange Institution myself, and have been for many years. It was a key opportunity to merge the Ulster-Scots tradition, the Ulster Day commemoration, and also on top of that to bring a number of the marching bands from around the area and from further afield on that.
Sure. So what can people expect today?
Okay. The expectation is we will have around about, I believe, 18 bands on show today. Some of them will be marching. The majority of the day will take place, which is marching bands, and they will march around the perimeter of the pitch and then come in one location, off at the other. There will be a break roughly around 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and that's when the Ulster-Scots Agency take on their section.
Okay.
And within that, we have a combination of, we have a concert accordion band, we have a concert flute band, we have the lambags, fife, drums, Highland dancers, and we also have a drum major display, pipe bands. I believe the MC is Helen, and she'll be with us as well, hopefully doing that.
Brilliant. So Helen's just fresh from a stint at the Belfast International Tattoo there.
So no doubt well versed in what you have to do.
She'll not remember me then. I was obviously one of the guys that were yakking away behind her when we were doing rehearsals and stuff when she was trying to get the bands through that. So, but great. It's a great array of people here as well today, is there? You know, so
it's a full family day. Obviously, the event was free, and again, it was through funding that was received from Belfast City Council to Belfast Orange Fest, the Ulster-Scots Agency, and the whole idea was to put a family-friendly event. We have had interest even from as far away as Canada.
Yeah.
Some of the members of the Ulster-Scots Agency, I'm not sure if they maybe have family that's participating or taking part today, but reached out from Canada to see. So it does have quite a wide spread. But the marching bands as well, they're not all, because this is in the city of Belfast, it's not all about Belfast. You know, we have bands coming from Newcastle and from Bushmills, or Ballybogey as they are, coming around to do the thing and giving everybody an opportunity to perhaps to see a range of bands that they might not actually see under normal circumstances. And we cover all aspects of, from the traditional Blood and Thunder style of playing to melody flute, to concert accordion, to accordion, pipes. And I believe that the spread in the mix from a family point of view is good. Yeah. And also the demographics and the age profile of the family as well. You know, there's, looking down there today, just at the start of the event, there's quite a lot of families which are out for what hopefully is a very enjoyable day, and hopefully the weather shines on us and we have a good day. Yeah,
brilliant. What are you actually looking to achieve with this? Well, if you were once it's the dust is settled, what are you actually hoping that people walk away with today? Well, you mentioned a bit of fun full day, but what are you really hoping that walk away with?
What I would like is, as you've rightly said, quite a lot of people to go away and say actually they had a very enjoyable time, very enjoyable day. They got to see the range of playing styles and musical styles that are available. They also got an opportunity to have a free event. And as well as that, the hope would be that this could be the start of perhaps something else that could become an annual event. Yeah. Again, not necessarily within the realms of Seaview Stadium or Crusaders football pitch, but an annual event to promote the marching band tradition, which is a huge part of our culture and a huge part of what happens. And also, let's be honest, the financial aspect of it. You know, the marching band, whether that be on parade with members of the institutions or any of the loyal orders, they run their own individual band parades, and it's hugely expensive for a band to travel around Northern Ireland. But the financial recompense that they bring into the economy could be, you know, in excess of hundreds of millions of pounds per annum. And I think that's something that perhaps needs to be looked at, endorsed, and very much seen as what it is. It is a positive thing. And I think today will hopefully help to maybe bring people to that mindset.
Yeah, there was a report that was really, that was commissioned by the Orange Order quite a number of years ago. It'd be interesting for them to revisit that in regards to some of the numbers, because I know the numbers in that regards to money generated for the economy, but also in terms of charitable donations and stuff, it's probably way up and above. Beyond what those figures are, so it'd be interesting to see maybe from a more recent perspective how that's actually panning out.
From a numbers game that it is, although the event is free, it was a ticketed event, and that's so that we can provide information back to, whether that be Belfast Orange Fest, the Ulster-Scots Agency, or any of the key partners or key funders, so that they can actually see that they're getting value for money as well as the local economy. The local shops and so on in the area will also get an increase in their turnover for the day, and it's it's all about pushing that sort of boundary and getting people to perhaps understand and that it is where we are. Charity, it went without saying as soon as we were talking within the Belfast Orange Fest, the Ulster-Scots Agency, and the several committees that have been working in the background, of which I am but one small part of a very large cog. We immediately thought, right, well, we have an opportunity to have people here. It's a free event, so we should particularly pick a charity. And straight away, we selected the Northern Ireland Hospice. Right. The Northern Ireland Hospice headquarters is less than half a mile from this venue. So it's a close charity to the event, and no doubt the hospice is very close to many people's hearts.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I take it there's obviously reps from the hospice here that'll be around about the ground today.
Northern Ireland Hospice has provided us with signage and literature. There are collection buckets around the event, and people will be walking around with collection buckets if someone wishes to make a voluntary donation. Sure. And again, the entire day is about making it free and family and understandable. If you wish to make a donation, you certainly can do so. Yeah,
definitely. And what we'll maybe do as well is we'll put up maybe a link to the hospice's website on the screen here. And that if you want to go online and make a donation to that there while you're watching that'd be great. Definitely a worthwhile cause there. So in terms of numbers, where are we sitting in terms of performers, bonds, everything, all in? What are we looking at, Jim?
Expectation, we put originally 2,000 as a limit on the free tickets. We have exceeded the 2,000 tickets that have gone. There are free tickets still at the door. We increased it to around 2,500. And if I take into account the participants through the course of the day, we would be looking at a footfall, because I'm conscious that bands and people will come and drift in, and I'm very conscious that there are other excellent events happening through the course of the day at other parts of Belfast. My expectation would to have a footfall of around between 2,500 and 3,000 individuals coming through here through the course of the day.
Brilliant. Great. Listen, Jim, I know you're busy here, and I can see you're itching to get back out there, put that a luminous vest back on and get out there and see what else is going on. Really appreciate you taking the time to talk to us on Made to Parade, and really appreciate you taking the time and effort to put an event on like this, because this doesn't happen by accident. There's a lot of people that are involved in that there, and fair play to you for coordinating. I was going to say you'll not lose your hair over it, because there's nothing there to lose. But I really appreciate you spending time with us and putting us on, having Made the Parade here at the event as well, man.
Appreciate everybody for coming along, and Made the Parade for obviously highlighting it for us. Thank you.
Brilliant. No worries, man. Thank you. Great. So there you go. Folks, I know this will be going out after the event there, but make sure you check out some of the videos and stuff that are online. I know MVTV are here as well, I think, in terms of covering stuff for the Ulster-Scots. So there'll be plenty of coverage for you to catch up on in terms of the bonds and the performances that are taking place throughout the day. So stay tuned for more. right, so folks, we're continuing on in terms of connecting with some of the performers here, and I'm absolutely delighted to be joined by Phil from the Ballyclare Memorial Flute Band. So, Phil, welcome along to be the
Thank you very
parade.
much.
Thanks
Thank you.
for agreeing to take some time out, because it's turned out a
It's been
lovely
great
day.
day,
hasn't it?
so it is.
We were a wee bit worried earlier on there because it looked a bit on the cloudy side, didn't it?
Especially
So-
the week we've had.
Phil, talk to us a wee bit about your band. Tell, if people don't know anything about your band, who are you? Where did you come from? What's the crack?
Well, given the amount of members that we have, 90% of our members were in the Ballyclare Protestant Boys.
Okay.
Been in that band for a lot of years. I was in it 14 years and just wanted something different. Just fancied a change. So a few of the guys met and decided to sort of describe what style we are. We're trying to go down playing regimental marches and different wee part flute tunes. We're in the process of going through those. We're in the process of implementing a piccolo into our setup. But we're fancied a low tension style
Right, okay.
playing around the town,
Right.
because it's only ever been really Blood and Thunder, and then we've had Ballyclare Victoria, who are a melody part flute band, but
They were solely
concert
flute?
based, yeah, but they're now solely concert
Right, okay.
based, so that there's no outdoor marching for them, so we thought the opportunity's there to form a wee band.
Right, and so how long ago are we talking?
We formed the band on the 11th of September 2022.
Right, okay.
We've
Wow.
only been going 2 years past in
Right.
September there.
What's that been like, starting a band from scratch?
Well, it was a cash injection from a few members
Right.
that got us. We got second-hand drums, got second-hand flutes, and then we bought the uniform. Started off Donaki, we're selling their uniform, so we grabbed their fantastic quality. So we decided then to go out and buy shirts to sort of try and give us our own look.
Yeah.
But it's been tricky, raising
Uh-huh.
the funds by ourselves, and a lot of the guys are out of pocket
Right.
at the minute. But we're in the process of
Yeah.
different.
It is
things.
difficult when you do that startup phase, because I remember whenever you still are, you were quite good in terms of posting on the social media stuff. There was always, you were posting stuff from practice, you were
Yes.
posting stuff from like some of your wee marching practice and stuff like that there. And I remember seeing you, you'd put videos up of your first events and stuff
Yes.
like that there.
Yeah.
You've really tried to
to
engage that way, haven't you?
Definitely, we've tried the social media aspect of things. We've tried to get us out there as much as we can to try and attract new members, given the size of us.
Yeah.
We've a small wee outfit there, but we do have a couple of learners coming through on the
Brilliant.
drum and flute,
Brilliant.
which is good to see. We've had interest from other people as well, but it's just getting them to take
Yeah,
that
where,
step.
where do you get your learners from? How have you got those people? Because that's when you talk to everybody, they're like kind of going, getting people in is really difficult.
So hard. It's mainly been friends of each member.
Right, okay.
We've said to them, look, come on down, give it a go.
Yeah.
The worst
See
thing
what
we do
happens.
is say no.
Yeah.
But we've kept our costs to an absolute bare minimum at the minute with the people coming in due to the lack of funds. We've just been getting people in, giving them an instrument, no joining fee, and then just a yearly supplement fee
Right,
that
okay.
we pay. But it's been quite tricky, but we're getting there.
Yeah.
We went through a bit of a lull there. We lost a past member
Right, okay.
earlier this year, a matter of weeks ago. So that sort of halted us for a while, but we're getting back on
Yeah.
our feet now. We're
Good
doing
stuff.
really-
Why is it important for you to be involved in events like today? Because you're talking like Ballyclare, you're not a kick of the teeth away from where we
No.
are really. But I mean, why is it important to be involved in events like today, do you think?
I think this is a one of its kind event, and to have the chance to showcase the band in an arena.
Yeah.
We jumped at it. I don't think there's enough events like this going on. We've got the Belfast Tattoo, but it's mainly only sort of 2 marching bands from the country get
Yeah.
to attend it. But an event like that today, where it's free to the public, it was
Yeah, no, it is. It's definitely one of those things, and I think it's also pointed today as well in terms of being Ulster Day and stuff like that. There, what does the whole idea of Ulster Day mean to you?
I think it's just a case of celebrating our culture. There's not enough going on around the country.
Yeah. In
dedicated
terms of it's dedicated to specific
Today,
events
yep.
and stuff like
And I thought this here, perfect opportunity to celebrate
Yeah.
our culture.
Brilliant. Good. In terms of if people were interested in getting involved in the band, what kind of things, what would you say to them, the intentions? You've got a platform here. If you want to make an appeal to people to get involved with you or get involved with a band or whatever, what would you say to them?
Well, being only recently formed, the sort of world's our oyster now. We're starting from scratch, so there's endless opportunities for us out there with plans, in the near future to head over and do the Battlefield tour with
Right.
all different events coming up. We've endless charity events. We recently held a wee charity parade there for raising money for Children's Hospice, and I think we're very community based band, and it's, you know, if you want to come and try and play some good music and have a good time and meet great people, it's the wee band to go to.
Brilliant. And where do you practice?
We practice in Ballyeaston, Orange Hall, so it's just outside Ballyclare, and that's on a Sunday at 1 p.m.
Right, okay. So Sunday practice, right? Okay.
Sunday
Very
practice.
dead on. So, folks, if you're in the Ballyclare area or the surrounding area and you're looking to get involved with the band, you've been involved with the band before or whatever else, go and check these guys out. They're doing some great stuff. They're a type of unit, and I'm sure they'd welcome you along to their practice and give you all the help you need. We just want to say thanks very much for coming in today and sharing with us in terms of being involved in the event, but also, I suppose, for putting the time and effort into putting the band out there, because it's not an easy task. Sometimes it's a thankless task in terms of the time and effort that you put in to doing that there. So, and for what you have put together in the last couple of years, I think you have done extremely well. I was down at the side watching this coming round there, and I thought you were really tight. Tell your bass drummer, the sound of that bass drum is fantastic, man. Really, really loved that. And some of the wee girls and all here walking with you as well. You've had a solid wee unit there, man. So well done, and enjoy the rest of your day, Bugger.
Well.
So, folks, we're continuing on, and you'll probably have heard in the clips so far, the bands have been walking around the pitches there, and I was able just to catch the fifes and drums as they were going around. There were Ballyclare come in, and then the fifes and drums were in behind them, and I'm delighted to be joined by one of the founder members of the fifes and drums, Aldi. Aldi, welcome along to Be It The Parade podcast. Absolutely great to have you on board.
Yeah, great.
Good. Talk to me a wee bit about where the Fifes and Drums came from in terms of you being a founder member, because I know the band has a good reputation in terms of good playing band, solid outfit and stuff like that there, and still to that to today. But tell us, how did you actually, where did the band originate from?
Well, it originated from the old York Road No Surrender. We're all members of the York Road No Surrender at the time, and it fell apart, and there was no melody band within the road for probably 2 years.
Right.
And we just sat one night having a yarn, and we said, what about starting our own melody band?
Mm-hmm.
So we formed it, just done it. Three of us got in touch with a few guys that we knew the bands was wanted back in, and we took a year out, fundraised through helps of lodges and the public around the area, got ourselves a uniform and instruments, and then took a year out, learned what we were learning, and then came back in after the year. So we were formed in 2003.
Really? Is that? My
Yeah.
goodness. Wow. Right, okay.
And first parade was in 2004.
Right.
And we've been going ever since.
Right, it's 2003. It feels like he's been around
Well,
a
we
lot
had
longer than that.
our 20th anniversary
Wow.
2 years ago.
Right.
Just the end of last year, and we had a fantastic night in the Europa Hotel.
Right,
Fantastic night. And just done everything we wanted to do. Presentations was done, all acts members was brought in.
Brilliant.
The lodges were brought in. Fantastic night.
Good. And then, so if you're in 2003, you're not that far away from another, significant then?
Coming to the 25th.
Yeah. So have you anything planned in terms of that?
Not at the minute.
Right.
We're just, the hardest bit for us at the moment is keeping the band together.
Right, okay.
Because at this present time, membership's very low.
Okay.
Trying to entice people into the band is the hardest part for us to do.
Yeah.
Very, very hard to get kids interested.
That's a melody as well, you know what I mean?
I think that's what scares me, Brian. It's more or less, people think, I can't learn that. But my philosophy is, I've been in bands from I was 5. If you can play an instrument, you can play anything.
Yeah.
Whether it be bloody thorn, whether it be melody, see, I don't class us as a melody band. I class us as
Like a hybrid?
Basically,
You're
yes.
comfortable in both fields. You're comfortable playing the more sort of B&T type
Yeah,
stuff,
we can do
but
that,
you're
yeah.
also very comfortable with the marches,
We're
etc.
very
as
good
well.
at putting tunes together.
Yeah.
The wee guy ranges our music puts all the tunes together, so maybe 4 or 5 tunes into one, like a melody.
Sure.
And they do it with the parts and stuff now. It's great. You know,
Yeah.
it's different.
Because he's kind of remind me a touch of similar style to what the maybe down in terms of the range of flutes and stuff, but in terms of maybe playing ways, some element of Black Skull and that kind of stuff, and maybe in the past from the
Yes.
likes of the Sharpshooters or something like that there as well. Do you know what I mean? That's the
You can't go wrong if you're following the likes of.
well, if you're following the Black Skull, not a problem. The Sharpshooters I can do without.
I've got friends in the shop, they can't say that.
So, Andy, you're bound to have some standout moments in terms of your time with the band. What would some of those be?
My most standout moments are being able to work with a band.
Right.
I just love. My biggest standout moment was when my son, Joy, he came into the band
Right.
with me.
Okay.
When we first formed the band, he was one of the first ones
Right.
we asked, and he's been in it ever since.
Right. Okay.
And he's now our lead tip, and every day I see him on the drum,
Right.
he's fantastic.
It's important that too, isn't it?
Important. It's getting the youth into the band.
Yeah.
Most of the youth that we have in the band at the minute is family members.
Yeah.
And it's keeping them there because their grand is there, their brothers are there, whatever.
And it's a key thing, especially when you look, because I think we've been reasonably decent at the Raven in terms of our own numbers over the last year, which has been great. But a lot of melody bands do go through that flux where, you know, you get an influx of members and then they seem to go elsewhere.
Yeah.
You know, they come in and learn how to play, they get good at what they're doing, and then they go and play somewhere else and stuff.
That's
you know?
been me. I've probably done it 5 times. I've went out, I've got drum pads made up. When I worked in Shortshire, I got them done, and then I bought drumsticks. I'm trying to give them to all the young kids that I knew.
Yeah.
But up the drum classes, teaching them, and you'll clear off. And
Yeah, it's one of those things. But I mean, well, maybe what we'll do is before we end this up, we'll give you an opportunity just to kind of put out a wee appeal for people in terms of, you know, get involved because you're cracking playing band. I mean, we just watched this coming around there.
days of my life.
You know what
Oh
I mean?
my
So,
God.
talk to me about Ulster Day. Why is it important for us to be involved in events around the whole idea of Ulster Day?
It's just highlighting our culture in general, basically. And Ulster Day helps that in a long way.
Yeah.
It's just there's not enough events like this on any. Well, saying the odd road does have it, Shore Road doesn't have it.
Yeah.
Support down this road's very weak. We need to get it built up again.
Yeah.
And
No, so how do you think of the band at the end of the
I
day?
thought the bomb was small, but
Yeah,
it was very good as usual. Yeah.
Yeah, no,
Very
brilliant,
good.
good stuff. And if there was, you know, I know the guys that were organising this were saying that they're hoping that this becomes like almost like a yearly event. That's something you'd be behind as well, I would say, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Brilliant.
Definitely. Think
Good
it's a
stuff.
good idea.
So, Vic, you've an open platform here. We have the podcast goes out to quite a few thousand people and stuff. So, how about we look down the camera, make an appeal for people to join your band? Why should people get involved with Face and Drums?
Well, I think, for me personally, my band life is my best days of my life. Best days I've ever had within living. I love my
Yeah.
school days. My band life is the best ever. And my son's now in the band with me, came through it as a child. Youngsters need to get involved for the community part of it and your culture part of it. There's just a whole lot of reasons to be there. You're helping your own community out. You'll make friends for life. I mean, I have friends in other bands that I've had from I was 5, 6 years old, and they're still my friends.
Yeah.
It's a culture and it's a way of life, and it's just I can't see anything better than it at the minute.
Brilliant.
No, that's my opinion. Like,
Excellent. Well, listen, if you are out there and you're in this area in terms of Shore Road, sort of North Belfast, either you were a member of a band or you're maybe looking to join a band. I mean, I couldn't recommend a band better than the Face and Drums from this area in terms of joining. If you want to be a part of something that's the good music, good arrangements and stuff, then look no further than the Face and Drums. And I'm sure the guys that are involved in that band would be only too happy to see you involved in what they're doing. So, where do you practice?
Mount Vernon Community Hall on a Monday night.
There we go. There you go. You have no excuse not to go, folks. Alrighty. Listen, man, I really appreciate you. Alrighty, folks, so we are continuing on with our coverage at the Pitch Perfect event here, and I'm absolutely delighted to be joined by, I'd like to say, friend of the podcast, Alicia from Corbett Accordion Band, and everybody knows the love that I have for accordion bands. So I'm absolutely, all joking aside, absolutely delighted to have you on. How you doing, Annie? Are you doing all right?
I'm doing really, really good. It's
Good.
lovely to be down in here.
Brilliant, good stuff. And how's life for the band going at the minute?
The band has been very, very busy. Today is our last event of the kind of Praeden calendar. So it's a nice way to mark it for Ulster Day and finishing with that.
Brilliant.
Here in Belfast. Belfast's not really a usual place we go to.
Right.
So it's been nice to have an invite to come down here and mark Ulster Day with our membership.
Brilliant. And how did you end up getting the invite down here? How did that come about?
I think probably a number of things. Firstly, we've done a lot of Ulster-Scots tuition
Right, okay.
programs recently, so we're known with the Ulster-Scots Agency, but as well, obviously, we were on the bands program.
Okay.
So that's maybe raised a wee bit of a profile for quite a very small accordion band.
Yeah, definitely. That's been kind of a big deal for you as well. You know, being featured on all of it's been. I really love the way that program's kind of humanized a lot of the stories attached to the bands, and for the BBC, because the BBC don't necessarily have a great reputation in terms of how they deal with bands, and that's been a real exception. Is that program? I'm surprised that they even took it on.
Well, I think it's really good because obviously the producers and the director and things, Johnny Golden is the guy that kind of oversees it. And traditionally would be from a kind of band background or our community.
Sure.
So it's really nice. The guy that foots a lot of his footage is actually involved in a band as well.
Right.
So they know us inside out. They have a bit of a connection and they understand the stories. But yes, they do like a story to link everything together, a bit of a theme to the production.
It's good. What was that like for you then, taking part in that? I know you probably talked about this a lot, but what was it?
It was a real honour for our band because we're 50 years old this year. We've just celebrated our 50th anniversary on Tuesday night. So it was nice for the band to have that wee bit of acknowledgement in the run-up to our 50th anniversary. But also as a family, I suppose, obviously everybody knows Mum died just after they were editing the programme. So I suppose from a personal perspective, it's been really nice because I didn't hear any of Mum's interviews.
Right, okay.
Or anything like that. So then when it was on the TV, I was able to hear what she'd said about me and Dad and things like that after. So we've got that wee bit of footage after. So yeah, but it's really nice. I suppose I work in a school, so I work in education. So I suppose I'm putting myself in a position where I work in an educational setting and then I'm going onto the TV to say I'm in the band. But I suppose marching bands, people don't understand our culture. Yeah. They don't understand the work that goes involved, the voluntary work, because a lot of us go to band practice. And the band teacher has set up music, you know the score. They've wrote it all out. They bring it to band practice and the band goes, I don't really like that piece. Or I'll change this wee bit.
Soul Destroyer.
As a team effort. So in that way, it's nice to show the other side to bands, just not those that are, you know, parading on the road week in, week out kind of thing. Especially even like today, you know, that we have a big, vast variety of culture here within Northern Ireland and a lot of talented bands, and it's showcasing it here.
Exactly. And that very rarely happens that you get that kind of eclectic mix. You know, you've got almost nearly everything from the singers, the dancers, the lambigs, the fifes, the drums, the pipes, everything.
Without banners. And
without anything, you know.
I know a lot maybe have been involved that are through the Orange Order and things like that, but actually you don't have much of that showcased here today.
Yeah, no,
it's the bands taking it forward.
It's nice. It's been a nice feel to the whole day in terms of there's been a nice family atmosphere generated as well. So you've mentioned there about the band just turning 50s. Did you have a wee bit of an event there just to kind of mark the 50th?
So we practice in Canal and Orange Hall. Our wee Orange Hall at the Corbett, it doesn't have any toilet facilities and it doesn't have a working kitchen. So about 20 years ago, just with young guards and things like that in the band, we were like, look, we really need toilets. You can't be going round the back and peeing in a bucket. So we decided to go to Canal and Orange Hall, and that's where we practice. But we contacted the lodge and said, look, we really want to mark our event in the Corbett Orange Hall. And we had a wonderful night. And I think that's the biggest crowd they've had in Orange Hall in loads of years.
Many years.
And they've just had it recently, a lot of work carried out
Okay.
to it. So it was nice for them to showcase their new hall and it all nicely done up and things like that. And even for locals to come into
Yeah.
it as well. But on Tuesday night past, our formation was the 24th of September,
Right.
1974. And it was
So
on a Tuesday night.
no
And
way.
this week it fell on the 24th
Wow.
of September, 2024, on a Tuesday night. So
Happy
we
days.
could not go back to the corporate world all
Brilliant.
began.
Like written in the stars stuff there, isn't it? Brilliant. Good night then, had by everybody, yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
Brilliant.
Indeed.
Good stuff.
Everybody have a good night.
And anything else planned for the band coming up this year, given that it is like a big 12 months ahead of you?
Well, anybody from a band background, you'll know the crack. With any anniversary, you sometimes like a new uniform.
Okay.
And as you can see here this evening, I'm wearing a windbreaker jacket.
Would you come in? At least I actually didn't recognize you first. I thought it was one of the SAA guys coming in
They
from.
The security ones all in black. But a couple of years ago, we were in real need of new uniforms, and the band decided, what is the point in getting a new uniform a couple of years before our 50th anniversary? So the committee kind of got together and were like, look, we can have a one-off big event and kind of fundraise and just go
Go for it.
all for it.
Yeah.
Or we do wee tiny snippets of fundraisers and put that all into a uniform fund. So that's actually what we've done, is we've done wee small regular events and then put the money in. Anybody that knows with a band uniform, for a jacket, a hat and trousers, this is just the bare minimum. You're talking £650
Easy.
in around that starting, and depending on the quality of the material, you know,
And
you
who's
know
doing it?
yourself,
And who's doing it
who's
as well?
making it and things like that. So we're a wee small band. There's about 20 members roughly, and it's a big commitment for the
Yeah.
band financially. Plus, a lot of people don't realise that we're playing accordions that are 20 years old, and an accordion roughly is £2,850 now per accordion. So there's a lot of running costs with it. With an
Yeah,
accordion
no,
band.
that's it.
You'll not know that.
No,
But
I
I'm
would.
only
No,
joking.
But as much as I kind of give the accordion band stick, you know, I do think, you know, that the overheads that they have in regards to that, even if you are a small band, it is immense, especially if you're playing, if you've got people who love their piano accordions and stuff like that, because that's, you know, even more expensive. And now there are some button-based accordions that are extremely expensive as well. Some of those more like the Italian makes and stuff like that, are extremely expensive. No, and then the upkeep of
Insurance.
those,
Upkeep,
insurance and those,
insurance.
exactly, and you get rained on with those things, it becomes a whole different story. Do you know what I mean?
those
So
are
no,
made of,
it's
like cardboardy paper. then.
Exactly, yeah.
So we're hoping for a new uniform. I can't really disclose much, and the reason why I can't disclose much because we're just literally at the design stage. So we
Okay,
don't really
brilliant.
even know what we're getting exactly.
And when are you
ourselves.
hoping to have this out for then?
Well, our 50th anniversary band parade will be in May next year. So
Okay.
as chairperson, it would be my hope that we could kind of showcase them at our 50th anniversary.
Brilliant.
That all depends on the production and things like
Sure.
that, as you well know. But we also have decided that we're going to have an anniversary dinner.
Okay,
It'll
brilliant.
be on Friday, the 1st of November, and it'll be in the Banfield Hotel in Banbridge. So everybody would be made very welcome to come and support the wee Corbett.
Brilliant. And just prior to that, there's another event, isn't there, in October?
Yes, so we have one person in our band, he's called Ewan McNeil, and he had kind of orchestrated this kind of Ulster accordion band. So basically, we're hosting an event on the 25th of October in Tan Valley Orange Hall. And it's all the accordion bands throughout Northern Ireland come together and have a night of playing and things like that in an Orange Hall. So that'll be in Tan Valley on the 25th of October, and the wee Corbett are hosting it.
Brilliant.
So
Happy
we're
days.
really excited about
Brilliant.
that.
Maybe we'll get down to that. Maybe we'll
We'd
come
love
along.
to have you and meet the variety of bands. You know, you've piano, accordion band,
Yeah.
you've just button key. You've some that only go out 2 or 3 times a year for the 12th and
Yeah.
Saturday, and you've other ones like ourselves that are out very
Regularly,
regularly.
yeah.
You know.
Brilliant. So it sounds like it's an absolutely busy year from the band right through to the anniversary, the new uniform, the events happening all. It just sounds like you just don't stop.
No, really don't stop. And I think, Glenn, sometimes we look at big bands and everybody aspires to be a big band.
Yeah.
And sometimes people forget that the wee accordion band that's parading with 6 accordion players or 7 accordion players forget that we need to be available every Friday
Okay.
and Saturday night, and maybe an orange service on a Sunday or a
Yeah.
community event or something on Sunday. So for our members, they are really, really dedicated, and I have to be really thankful for that we've got really good, committed, loyal members.
Well, but the thing is that, I think that goes right across the scene, that without those consistently dedicated members, our bonds wouldn't be about. Do you know what I mean? We would have less bonds on the road than we do. But, but that comes down to the fact that people are given a serious amount of their time to this thing, and people go, well, why do people do that? What is it you think people just give their time to? Because I know whenever I was young, I dedicated like all of my free time was stood upon. Now that I've got kids and stuff like that, I'm not able to do as much as I used to. But what is it you think that motivates people to do that?
I think there is a buzz being in a band. For some of us, there's a responsibility in the band because we hold a position within the band. So you need to be there to be able to fulfill that role that you've taken on at the AGM. I also think that for a lot of bands, it's a family connection. What other organisations do we have within Northern Ireland or within the band scene worldwide that a 4-year-old can play with an 84-year-old?
That's just it.
If we're talking about a sports team, if we're, talking about even playing in an orchestra, they're different abilities and standards. A lot of our bands are connected to families, and I suppose for us that's a major thing why we're all together as a family and we're doing things together as a family. Sometimes that's not easy.
Yeah.
But there's a culture, there's a responsibility to have your wee band's name out. And I also think that when you host an annual band parade, if bands come and attend your band parade, you want to do your utmost to support them back.
Sure.
So I think there's that kind of relationship and partnership. You support us and we'll support you.
Yeah. And there's also, for me, there's that the sense of community.
Yes, absolutely.
And the sense of belonging that brings. And because a lot of our bands are in smaller based communities and stuff, I mean, in terms of smaller based communities, the band almost becomes like part of the lifeblood of the community. Do you know what I mean? And when you take that away, it's like kind of going, you're actually killing something off in that grouping of people.
We're a real funny wee band because we actually practice all year.
Right, okay.
So, some bands would have a break.
Take a break,
over the winter months. Yeah. We play in nursing homes and things
right,
like that
okay.
over the winter. So come kind of the end of October, we'll start to learn our Christmas carols.
Right,
we'll
okay.
Go to a couple of nursing homes and we'll play in Banbridge a day. And then kind of after Christmas, that's us kind of making our way either through the Ulster-Scots tuition grant, or making our way leading up to parading season again. So, or if you're indoors or concerts that you've been asked to play in. So actually, we don't really have that many nights out.
Right.
Or nights,
That's free all in terms of
yeah, we're out regularly.
In terms of me just kind of closing things off there, and why is it important to be involved in events like this? Obviously, Ulster Day, historical event, major importance in regards to the history, not of Northern Ireland because it didn't exist at the time, but in terms of our development, in terms of the community and where things have come from, what we connect. Why is it important that we are involved in these things?
I think it's important, well, one, to hold something. It recognises our marching bands as a big major contributor to Northern Ireland as a whole. You think of bands travelling by buses and stuff, the economic value of bands. I think a lot of people don't maybe put a lot of emphasis onto that. I think that's really important. Also, from a band's perspective, it's recognition of being invited to these. It's also good for our members to say, from no age, we have like 8-year-olds parading here with us to say we actually took part in that event. That was great. For us, we're a very rural band. We're now in a city. So even that contrast of...
Did you experience this kind of thing? Yeah.
Kind of being in the middle of a city here for some of our younger members. But also we have the freedom to do that, the historical freedom to practice our faith, to practice our music and express our culture in a positive way.
Yeah.
There's nothing to be afraid of our culture. It's music.
Yeah, exactly.
And music is available to everybody. Yes, we may have flags and emblems in some of our uniforms and things like that, but at the heart of it is really based around music.
Yeah.
So I think it's vitally important that we do attend these things, and events like this are supported
and
are recognised by funding bodies, to showcase this.
Yeah. And I think, as we said earlier on, the fact that the full spectrum pretty much is here is also a testament that we need there's not just one, there's no one part of our culture or even linked to our bands is more important than any of the rest. I know the flute bands get a lot of, because there's so many of them, whatever else, but I think that without the accordions, without the pipes, without the dancing, without the brass, without all that, you don't have the same richness and diversity that those bands bring to the scene. And I think there's a growing appreciation that we all need to stick together and band together. Funny enough, in regards to that. But events like this are giving people that opportunity to do it. And I think it's vitally important we continue not just to do them one-off, but we try and make these regularly and link them to historical events that mean something to us as well.
Absolutely.
So, brilliant. Well, listen, I'm absolutely delighted to see you again.
Absolutely.
And glad that you took the time out to come and speak to us. And I know you guys, you're getting ready to play.
We're ready, nearly to go.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, listen, I'll let you go and get on with that there, but thank you very much for taking
Thanks
the time.
so much for
Brilliant.
having us and
Great.
talking to us. Take care.
Brilliant. Alrighty, folks, so we are here at Pitch Perfect, an event that's taking place at Seaview, the home of Crusaders. And this is an event that's been organised through Orange Fest and also the Ulster-Scots Agency too. And I'm absolutely delighted to have a representative from the Ulster-Scots Agency with us here. So you're glad to have you on board. Do you want to just introduce yourself for the guests who are watching?
Yeah, certainly. My name's Anne Davis and I work for the Ulster-Scots Agency. I'm PAT's Chief Executive Officer.
God help you. All good. So, for people who don't know, what is the Ulster-Scots Agency all about? What is it you're here to do?
Well, it's fairly simple and basic. We're here to promote and preserve the Ulster-Scots language and history.
Brilliant. Good stuff. But there's no teleprompter here as well, folks, so that's definitely from the... But so what kind of work are you actually involved in? When you talk about that's what you do, what are some of the range of maybe projects that you're promoting and trying to get off the ground?
So one of the main things we do is music and dance. We help with grants for the music and dance situation out in schools and various clubs to promote Highland dance, fife, lambeg tuition.
Okay.
We also have an exhibition centre in our centre, so anybody who's free to visit that Monday to Friday, 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. Pardon me, 4 p.m.
To 4 p.m. All right, that's in the city centre here, isn't it? Yeah.
Yes, it is indeed.
Yeah, great. And you weren't always there though. You were somewhere else before that, weren't
Yeah,
you?
there were previous offices. I think it was in Great Victoria Street, but that was before my time.
Right, okay. Because it's now an Indian restaurant, I figure. So it's now the New Delhi restaurant there. So I don't know.
Nice.
There you go. So, in terms of before you started working for Ulster-Scots, how were you off that as your culture? Would you have defined it as Ulster-Scots, or is that something that has grown with you as you've worked for the agency?
I was very aware of Scottish heritage in my family because it was promoted tartan and shortbread. And my parents were both from Ballymena, so they're natural Ulster-Scots speakers. I was I grew up in Newton Abbey, where it wasn't so embraced.
Okay.
So I found when I went to school, knowing that I was brought up in a Hamley tongue. So this is an instant I always tell people, we were talking about gardens and sheds came up. So I says, we have a garden shade, and people laughed.
Right, okay,
School.
right.
So in a way, it was proper, just like our forefathers, the Ulster Scots, that it was diluted down, and we weren't
Sure.
expected to speak in that manner. So when I got to work in the agency, I realised that I was probably a product of that as well.
Right,
The
okay.
dilution, so that makes me proud, and it also makes me passionate to promote it.
Okay.
And it's okay to be Ulster-Scots.
Yeah.
Very much so.
What would you say that you know, because there's a lot of talk in regards to, you know, and especially in Northern Ireland, in regards to the idea that the Ulster Scots being a dialect and all this kind of stuff, and people try and brush it off as not really, like, you know, legit in terms of culture and all that kind of stuff. What would you say to counteract that? Because obviously that's not where I would start, but I mean, there's an opinion out there that this is just, you know, not legit at all. Talk to us about that.
Well, through my own research for myself, I have done the level 2 course, and of course they talk about where language originates from, and it's a Germanic language, which is part of the English, and then Scots, and then Ulster-Scots. There are certain words, if you read, they make no sense at all in English. They're certainly Ulster-Scots.
So give us a few examples of that, if you could.
Well, let's say Regan.
Regan, which is stinking, isn't it?
What about Lum?
What? Lum?
That's a chimney.
Right, all right, okay.
So
No, that's
on and on.
definitely...
So there's definitely words that do not fit anywhere else
Right.
but our language.
Right, okay, because the lum's not something I would be aware of, because
Mm-hmm.
the chimneys never worked where any houses I was in, like, you know what I mean? But what other instances, because there is quite a lot of words that we use day to day that people wouldn't necessarily associate it with, but they don't know where it's come from, like, you know, so, you know, like, that's queer, you know, all that there, you know, people use that on a regular basis, you know, and don't know where it's come from.
Well, that's amazing you said the word queer, because that's one of the ones that up in Ballymena, my family we went to visit every week, and I'm saying, oh, that's queer, and you're looking vexed, and you know, and I was very used to that. But down in Newton Abbey and closer to the city, no, it wasn't acceptable, but it is getting more accessible, and that's what we're here for, the Ulster-Scots, to promote it.
Okay.
Say it's okay. We are a people that need to be recognised. In fact, we're a minority.
Sure, and a lot of talk in regards to a lot of things today in regards to issues that not just Northern Ireland faces, but it's about this idea of underrepresented communities, and it's important, I think, that there's elements within our community in terms of the wider PUL, Ulster Scots kind of thing, to say that we are underrepresented in a lot of areas, and especially in terms of the disparity or discrepancy that there is in terms of even the funding that's afforded to certain projects in regards to promoting that. But you guys are obviously trying to counteract that. How's the work of it going? Where are you seeing success at the moment?
For me, I think that the success is seeing the amount of visitors we have and the people we outreach. People are starting to recognise that we are a language, and even scholars from people that you wouldn't say that they would have stood behind us on this, but they do, they recognise it.
Yeah.
People who automatically would say, well, that's they would be against us. No, they're absolutely not. The learned people know, the scholars know that we are a language, we are people.
Yeah, but and you've mentioned there about doing a course. Where do people get involved with that type of stuff if they're interested?
Well, voluntary for myself, Ulster-Scots Community Network run courses.
Okay.
So they are an introduction to Ulster-Scots. You get to know more, and of course I tend to go on to level 2 and continue my studies for myself, because it is my heritage, 100%. I'm very proud of that. And I'd like to know more for my own good, not just for work purposes, because I actually enjoy. I am a history person. I'm involved in certain history societies, and I'd like to carry that forward.
Yeah. So why is it important for the Ulster-Scots Agency to be involved in events like today?
It's very important because today is, of course, marking Ulster Day, the day that we signed the Covenant, and we became, we would go away from home rule and home, all those things, which is very important because the people did decide on that day.
Yeah.
I have signatures of my own great-grandparents, and of course, one important part I'm always going to put this in is Mr. Carson promised that he would support the suffragettes if they signed the declaration, and he did.
Okay.
So so it's very important that we let everybody know what we're actually celebrating today.
Yeah. No, I think it is, because it was a pivotal moment in terms of the home rule crisis. I think it's because there was people sending us right across what would have been the wider United Kingdom at the time, because obviously partition and stuff wasn't a thing and stuff by then. And even it went as far as there was people sending us in Canada, there were people sending it all over the place, and I think what it did is it actually brought home to the government at the time just how serious the unionist people were about how they felt in regards to the whole rule thing. And only for the outbreak of the First World War there could have been a very different political scenario here.
I agree totally. If the people weren't worried of war, it might have been a different scenario.
Yeah, completely. And one of the things that I always like about the Ulster-Scots thing is the connection to the rest of the world, because this isn't just something that exists here. There's a connection in terms of the Ulster-Scots in lots of places. For me, Canada, there's a place there. America, there's a strong connection there. In fact, one of the presidents of America has a very strong Ulster-Scots connection.
It's over 20.
Well, there you go. Well, in terms of
Yes,
thinking of
it's
one in particular, you know, but yeah, in
And the
terms
two
of that.
runners at present are both from Ulster-Scots ancestry.
There you go. And, a lot of the music and stuff as well, that it's permeated in terms of, you know, what's become folk music in the States and all that kind of stuff, has a lot of its roots from here as well, doesn't it?
Absolutely, it does, and it's lovely to see it. When we're out in outreach, we'll see people from different countries, perhaps their origins, and they'll be wearing tartan. We'll go, "You're wearing tartan. This is beautiful,"
Yeah.
and they relate to us because of that.
Yeah. Brilliant. So if people are interested in finding out more, direct them to where can they find out information? Where can they get involved with the whole Ulster-Scots thing?
Because, well, Ulster-Scots Community Network, they have their exhibition space, as I said, open Monday to Friday, 10 a.m. to 4 p.m, free entry.
Yeah.
And that's fascinating. We do have a lot about the president's ancestry there, which is very foremost at the minute, going up to the next US election.
Is there a website there as well?
We have. So
Go ahead, give us your web address.
So www.ulster-Scots-Agency.org.uk.
There we go. Brilliant. Listen, I really appreciate you taking the time to come on share. I think it's really important that we connect with that side of our culture as well, and that a lot of the elements of our culture are all interconnected, and that they don't need to be seen as separate. And I think that there's a strength in that sense of unifying all of the different elements that make us who we are.
That's right, because if you were to say where one person's ancestry come, might be surprised exactly where it came from. I would ask everybody to look into their history and be a bit more educated for the future.
Brilliant. Listen, that's a great way to leave it there. So thanks very much. Really appreciate it. Thank you. Cheers.
Thank you.
Brilliant.